Welcome to Tent Talk, the podcast with Nancy McCready, where we talk about life under the big tent of God's presence and the provoking process of discipleship. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tent Talk. This is Nancy McCready. Check out Controversy with God 2.0 in this episode. Get out of the demanding line and into the receiving line so that all that has been provided through the finished work of Jesus on the cross can come to you and deal with every inch of controversy, angst, and difficulty that you may have experienced in the past or are experiencing currently. Take a listen. I hope it encourages you to go deeper with Him and possibly to connect more with me. Hey everybody, continuing with Controversy with God. I can remember early on as I came back to the Lord, I can remember the anger, the rage, the questions that began to rise up in me. And because I was, a fresh prodigal, just returned home, I oftentimes would want to squelch any issue that I had with God because I was also experiencing unbelievable gratitude and relief at being reconnected with God through Jesus Christ, was truly experiencing so many wonderful aspects of that. Getting sober after 10 years of being drunk and dealing with the initial issues of unforgiveness towards my dad and the sexual abuse, and so many things were happening in my life that when these questions towards God began to really rise up within me, I had a strange sense of feeling very disloyal to God, because here He was doing so many great things in my life, and yet here came these questions. And I remember one particular day, God said to me, Nancy, say to me what you want to say, but don't rail your fist at me and then run off. Remember, stay with me in this. And so I began to talk with Him and to learn how to be honest in His presence without fear of retribution, but also not being reckless and again railing my fist at Him and then running off and never waiting for the answer. And I remember in this particular moment, this particular time, this specific conversation I was having with Him, He began to speak to me out of Job 41:11, that basically says, what is it that you have done for me that I owe you anything? Everything under the heavens is mine. And I can remember initially being somewhat offended because what was coming out of me at that time was basically, God, you owe me. I mean, look at all that I've lived through. Look at everything that's happened. I do think that you owe me something. And the Lord was very specifically addressing me. And He said, Nancy, I owe you nothing. He said, but if you will get out of the demanding line and you will come into the receiving line to receive all that I have done for you, in you, on your behalf, in the cross of Jesus, if you will step over into the receiving line, then you can receive all that I have done. And I'm, of course, shortening the conversation for the sake of this podcast, but it was so powerful because I began to break towards Him, and I realized that I was still standing in this demanding line that God owed me. Basically, He owed me heaven because He let me live through hell, that He owed me to do right by me. But there was this subtle demanding that was within all of that. And as I learned to be a little bit more honest with Him and to express that towards Him and begin to just talk with Him and and say what was literally swirling inside of me that, amazingly enough, even having only been back with the Lord for a short period of time, there was, still all this religiosity that was going on in me. Basically where I would say, God, I'm upset with you for this, but I know that, and I was kind of basically, scolding myself and answering my own questions rather than having a real conversation with Him. And as I began to break towards Him in this honest crying out to Him, I realized that in the receiving line, everything that I thought I was owed had been freely given to me in Christ. And as I broke towards God, I began to receive and to receive all that He had done. We never want to communicate that God is anything other than deeply tenderized towards all that sin has wrought in our lives, our own sin and the sin of others towards us.
For more information on Nancy, please visit nancymccready.com or follow her on social media at NBMcCready.
So even though God is not obligated by our demands to do something, He's not subservient to us in our state of being deeply wounded, traumatized, all of these things. We must understand there is no one who understands us more than Him. The Word clearly tells us in Isaiah 53 and other places, He is intimately acquainted with our sorrows, our griefs, our pain. You see, Jesus didn't just die for us, He died as us. He didn't just die for you, He died as you. He became sin. There is no one more intimately acquainted with what's happened to you and that which you have done than Jesus. So when we begin to interact with Him in this way, where we begin to share honestly thoughts that even though we may be uncomfortable with them in their angry attitude towards Him, it's He who's squeezing them at certain points in our life for them to finally come to the surface so that we can begin to get honest about them so that He can begin to speak with us and lead us into the place where we will really know Him, because He does not bow by our demands. He comes and tells us, come out of that demanding line and into the receiving line. Receive all that I have accomplished in Christ by the finished work of Jesus Christ on the cross. And let that now be imparted to you. Let it open up real true conversations so that we can begin to receive of Him as according to who He really is. Do not let depravity, devastation, or defilement determine who God is to you. Don't let that be what keeps talking and trying to interact with Him. But you come as who you really are, the new man, to your Father, and express to Him what's swirling about inside of you. Talk to Him. Get in the receiving line of Christ, where you can say all that you need to say. And I can promise you this, there is one who knows the cry that is inside of you, the cry for justice. To cry out to Him, the one who knows all, has experienced all, who has dealt with all, and who now desires to impart that to you, but we must be in the receiving line. God does not come by demand. We are not God dictating to Him. We are the one who needs the deliverance from all things. We need everything that the cross has accomplished through the full-on obedience of Jesus to the Father. The goodness of the Godhead will begin to truly make an open display of itself when we finally get honest about the angst, the controversy that we have with him. Don't try to handle it by religiosity. Don't try to handle it by, by just railing against them. Let it be dealt with in the manner in which they have done it. And then the clarity that will begin to come to you will be so very powerful. So I hope this encourages you to take another step in your process with him. Go deeper with him. Stay with him in this, my friends. All right? I hope this encourages you today to go deeper with him and possibly to connect more with me. Until next time.
If you'd like information on how to book Nancy McCready for an event or speaking engagement, visit nancymccready.com.